I'm going to try to make a video here to show how I make these mounting brackets for my straight edge grinding setup. This is a piece of, happens to be 4140, but because that's what I had in this size, but it could be practically any steel, because even though this is 4140, I'm going to heat it up and soften it, and the hardness really is not a factor. This is a 3/4 inch ball bearing that's going to fit down in the socket there, and I'll silver solder it in place. And in favor of this whole setup is the through hole, which will allow hot gases from the heating of the metal to escape easily. If that were a blind hole, the hot gases tend to bubble up and out and push the flux out of the contact with the metals that you're trying to put together. And then here I have some, I think it's 56% silver solder that I'll use to make the joint between the two. I did put a little recess, you can see that in the end here, to allow that ball to set down in nicely. And then the silver should wick up into that joint between the ball and the bracket device. I'll see if I can get this set up some way that allows us to see what's going on. I'm going to have to set it down because I'm hand holding it now, obviously. First thing to do is to flux the joint there. So this is some flux recommended by the manufacturer of the silver solder, and I just kind of glob it on. It don't have to be real fussy or neat about that. And then I just rotate this around a little bit in it and get some flux on there. The flux just helps prevent unwanted oxidation of the metal, and that would prevent the silver from making a good joint. So what I'm going to do now is we'll fire up my oxyacetylene torch, which works the nicest for this. So let's see what we can do about getting that going. Crack it open a little bit here and get it lit. Let some acetylene start to flow. Now some oxygen. And I get a nice soft flame here. That's an oxidizing flame, where the cone just comes out bright blue like that, and that's a reducing flame. We want a reducing flame. And I'm just going to play this around the heavy piece down here, which is going to heat up the slowest. That ball will heat up easily because it's relatively low mass, but I have this on a insulating brick only because it's convenient and protects whatever else could be under the work. We want to get that steel to where it's just about starting to glow a little bit. When it gets close to silver solder temperature, you'll see the flux will liquefy. Right there, the corner's starting to turn a little bit reddish. You can see that. So the work is getting up to close to temperature now, not too far away. I'll heat the ball a little bit now. It looks like the flux is starting to liquefy there. The ball is starting to glow. Now we got to get this part down here just starting to glow. And pretty soon we'll touch the silver solder and see if it'll, there it goes. Put a little bit more in. Just like that, job done. So we'll prep this ball. I'm going to do a second one. Put it right on there like that. And we'll fire up again with the torch. Again, we'll try to use a fairly soft flame, and we'll start heating the work down here. You notice I'm not playing the flame right into the joint. And can you see the flux bubbling there? That's because it's water-based, and it heats up and bubbles. Then it kind of dries and looks sort of like a whitish, dry, powdery surface. That's the stage that it's at right now. We'll just play this flame back and forth and gradually bring it somewhat uniformly up to temperature. Sometimes on round pieces like this, I'll actually, if there's enough room from the heated part to where I can hold on to it, I'll put it in the lathe and actually turn it. It's kind of nice because it gives you a nice uniform heating effect. I think I may go ahead and turn the light down here a little bit in the room so that maybe the glowing will be a little bit more evident as to what's going on. I can see, I don't know if it'll pick up on the camera, but I can start to see a little bit of glowing in the workpiece here. I'll go up and heat the ball a little bit up here. It heats up quickly because it's low mass. Getting right up to temperature here, it looks like. Very close. Let's see what happens. Yep, there goes the silver solder. And that silver solder, when it melts, just jumps right into that joint. Now we're all done. You don't want to overheat that part. Just a few seconds after I finished, but you'll see that the ball is now just barely glowing. Maybe that's not visible. You'll see the silver solder is in the joint there nicely. We'll just let everything cool off. But that'll make a very nice solid joint of this piece to that piece. And yes, the ball is softened. I know that. But we're not using it in a way where the hardness of the ball is particularly important. It's just the shape that we're interested in here. And the same is true for the 4140 base. So right now what I'll do is just let her cool off, and it's usable just the way it is. I might shine it up a little bit just for kicks, but overall that piece is ready to go. Up to more normal while you're watching here, and you'll see that looking at that in normal room light looks like it isn't glowing at all. But if I shut that room light off, there you are. And that's just a little lower than you want to be for silver soldering. Obviously we were up higher a while back as it's cooling off now. But that's the process that I use, and it works out really well. I love these joints that it makes. They're very, very strong. Thanks for watching.